Hi, I'm Josh McGrath.
I'm Andrew Haas.
And this is the Art and Pursuit Podcast. Can men and women be just friends? Or is that just the equivalent of playing with fire while holding a gas can? Some say yes, others no, and then there are those that say, well, it's complicated. Today, we're taking a look at what friendship between men and women really means and the wisdom behind opposite sex friendships. Andrew, I'm really excited to be talking about this one.
Yes.
We've hinted at aspects of it over the last 60 episodes, but today we're going to confront this head on.
Yeah, this is a question as old as time, and some might even say it's been settled. I'm sure if you ask a lot of people, they would probably disagree with what we're going to unpack.
Yep.
But fundamentally, we want to look at, can men and women be friends long-term, be close friends? But before we get to that, we're going to watch a short video of a time when we were basically in college. It's on a college campus, and college students are being asked, can men and women be friends?
And their responses are quite illuminating.
Yes, very interesting.
All right, let's take a look at that here.
Do you believe that men and women can be just friends?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, I do.
I think it'd be hard to do.
Yes.
I mean, we're all men.
I know.
So of course we're going to have those feelings, and we can be content with just friendship, and we can be silent regarding those feelings, but we're gonna have them.
Yes.
No. No.
Yes.
I guess what I'm saying is no.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, do you have any guy friends right now who you're just friends with?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All my best friends are guys.
Bobby.
Yeah.
How long have you known Trevor?
2 years.
Of those guy friends, do you think any of them secretly like you? And be honest,
Probably. Yeah.
do you think that guy is interested in you?
Yes. Okay, maybe you can only be just friends in high school, because most guys won't just be my friend.
Would Dave hook up with you if you gave him the chance?
Well, yeah.
Do you think Trevor liked you?
Yes.
And-
I know I did. Yes. Too.
Because of physical attraction, it's not possible.
Okay. But you said I just want to be just friends.
Yeah.
Now, do you literally believe that he's not interested in you at all? Oh, yes! Yes! That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I think it's obvious that men and women view friendship between the sexes quite differently.
Yes, and before we get to that, friendship does take on many different meanings. Not unlike the word love. We use that word very broadly, and it is a versatile word. Friendship can sometimes be that as well. We're just friends, we're good friends, we're close friends. There's a lot of different ways.
Friends.
Best friends, yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different ways to describe friendship, being friends, and I think we need to really understand what that looks like as men and women get to know each other.
What we need to do first before we dive into today's episode is really describe what we mean by friendship, because like you talked about, friendship is used in so many different ways, and a lot of our listeners would be likely very confused about what we mean if we don't really define that term. So some of the ways we're going to describe this today is, if something good or bad happens to you, she's the first person you're calling, or she's one of the very first people you're calling. You want to tell her the news. Or she's the person that you want to tell about your day, the highs and lows of your day. If something funny happens, if something sad happens, if there's a frustrating moment, you want to express that to her. If you're going through any type of, emotion, it's been a long, hard week, you're feeling maybe a little emotional, a little vulnerable, you're angry, you're frustrated, something didn't go your way, or something went really well, and it's a total highlight. You want to express that to her.
Right, or is she someone that you go to for wisdom, advice, input, for, again, just big things in your life, small things in your life? Is she someone whose attention or advice you seek out?
Yes, that's a great point, because oftentimes men aren't going to be particularly, vulnerable or maybe communicate what they're thinking and processing with other men, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they actually find that satisfaction in opening up and talking to a woman. And so if she's the person you're turning to just process things, to process your life, like that's the type of friendship that we're talking about today.
Yes, and side note right there, women are known to be more agreeable than men, just categorically, which guys, if you're going to women, yes, there's a better chance she's gonna be more agreeable. So yeah, go to guys for input and advice because that's what men need. We don't need just someone to agree with us. But that would be one of the reasons why, you wouldn't go to a woman for advice and input. You absolutely can, but in isolation, it can be problematic.
So we've described, this type of friendship between a man and a woman that we're going to examine today. And when we're talking about this type of friendship, we're not talking about just being friendly or cordial or chivalrous with women, right? That can all exist apart from this type of friendship. So the question then that we're asking today is, can men and women be friends? And I think back to when I was in high school and college, I'm a sort of an atypical guy in the fact that I just am not attracted to the vast majority of women. And so throughout high school and college, while I had many guy friends, I also had many girl friends. Got to put that space between girl and friend. Very important. Let's eat, grandma. Let's eat, comma, grandma. Very important.
Very important.
So I was very close with a lot of different women throughout high school and college. And because I wasn't attracted to them, they were just like sisters to me. I was like, yeah, this is totally fine. And there's actually kind of a funny story, on our class trip. We were driving the big old 15-passenger vans, and it was, like guys row, girls row, guys row, girls row. And so, had to make sure that if you're a guy sitting in the guys row, girl in a girls row, and the chaperone came across and he's checking, okay, guys row and then girls row, but the girls row was girl, Josh, girl, and then guys row and then girls row. And he sees me and he's like, okay, like it was just kind of like, okay, whatever. Yeah. And, I really valued those friendships and we were very close. And in fact, a lot of, the things we described in this friendship bucket between a man and a woman did exist throughout my high school and college years. And I can say I truly was able to be friends in this kind of way with women without being attracted to them. The video that we watched earlier, that was not my experience. So it can be done.
Yeah.
But part of what we're going to unpack today is it wise? Should it be done?
Right. Just because something can be done, should it be done? And I think actually it would be really interesting if we could go back in time to that era. And, you're friends with a lot of women. It would be interesting to see how many, if any, of those women had feelings for you at any point.
Sure.
Because sometimes that's what develops in friendships. One person is like, yeah, we're great friends. And another person starts to grow feelings. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. And, I think back to high school and college for myself. And yes, youth group, Sunday mornings, trips with friends, friendships with women either diverged because we just took different paths in life, or if they were funny, witty, just engaging, hey, I want to spend more time around you, I would gravitate toward them. And sure enough, a month, 6 months, a year goes by and feelings are there.
Yep.
And that was, copy and paste. You go into college, same thing. I had a lot of great female friends in college. And most of them on some level, at some point in time, feelings started to develop.
Yeah. And it makes sense, right? There's this unique capacity that women have to draw out of men a willingness to be more open and vulnerable, and just that feminine and masculine, interacting with one another, even in a friendship environment. There's just something so satisfying about that. And I find female company very enjoyable. They're great to talk to. They're a lot of fun. It's fun to share things with them. And so it makes sense that, in high school and in college, I would gravitate towards that, even while still maintaining very good male friendships. And as a guy, it's very easy to fall into that, where you're thinking, well, we're just friends. But suddenly, as that friendship begins to grow, suddenly you're sharing, your day with them. It's like, now you want to go out to eat regularly with them. Now it's like you're checking in with them when you're leaving for, holidays. You're like sending each other pictures and videos about what you're each doing separate from each other on that holiday. And it's like you've got to somehow now suddenly share life together, even when you're apart. And unintentionally, that's going to develop an emotional bond that is going to drive somebody, either her or you, to want to move towards a romantic relationship.
And that's the point that we need to highlight. Given enough time, one of you, possibly both, I would say likely both, but yes, definitely one of you, over the long haul, given enough time, feelings will develop. And if it's not you, if it's her, the unkind thing is to actually perpetuate that, because you are at a place where you don't have feelings for her and she has feelings. And so you are maintaining something that doesn't get her anywhere. It's not being able to ultimately move to a place that she wants to move to. And it's just fulfilling a short-term desire that you have.
I remember this was shortly after graduating college, I was getting my ESL certification, and it was several hours away. And so I was driving down and I was staying with a friend from college, her family. And, they were very gracious to host me for multiple weeks while I was being certified. And so I met one of her friends and her friend's family. And, I took a liking to her family. This girl, she was my age. Her family was fantastic. But she had a brother who was, kind of a socially awkward, didn't really engage with people. And so I connected with him in a way that drew him out, where he was willing to sit down at the dinner table and participate in evening activities. If I remember right, I think I met her grandparents. I think they were over there at one point. I was making jam with her mom. It was awesome. We had such a great time. And in my mind, I was just being super friendly. And come to find out a few months later from my friend, she was like, are you going to ask her to date you? And I was like, no, why would I do that? And she's like, because Josh, you cared for her family and her brother and hung out with her mom and her parents love you. She's really likes you. And it was, that was a very short window of time. That wasn't over the course of multiple years. And that was kind of the first time that I even had this awareness of being oh, what I thought was just being really friendly, kind, and loving was actually creating a problem for a woman who I wasn't even romantically interested in and didn't even think I'd done anything wrong by simply showing up to her home and loving on her family.
And for guys, we will tell them, yes, hold the door for her, be respectful, be courteous, show chivalry.
Yes.
And in those healthy demonstrations, it is entirely possible that some young woman somewhere will take something you did, a kind gesture, and think, oh, he might like me.
Yeah.
So, there's two sides to this. We're talking to the guys. Don't hold back in being respectful, being courteous, in caring for people. That is the right thing to do. But if it's directed toward one person in particular over a long period of time, guys really need to be careful.
And I get it, particularly if you've grown up with, say, a woman, you've known her for 10, 20, 30 years. You're like, yeah, we're like BFFs. We do that, kind of my best friend's wedding, right? Kind of moment. Who was that? Julia Roberts, 1998, whatever movie. You get into this moment where you're like, no, this is just our friendship. And you become defensive of that friendship. But from the outside, people are looking at that saying, that seems weird. Maybe not wrong, maybe not sinful, but weird, because that type of intimacy, that type of knowing one another, that type of living life together, that's typically reserved for what we call marriage. Yes, you can be super close with a girl. You can be best friends. You can share all those experiences together and then some, but in the confines of marriage. In the confines of friendship, that at best is weird, at worst, going to lead you into heartbreak, there'll be dysfunction, and possibly even sin.
Yeah, because let's not forget that the best, healthiest marriages are deeply rooted in friendship. When both people have a deep respect and regard for the other, who finds the other as their best friend, that's really the foundation of a healthy marriage. So if you have that outside of marriage, if a guy has a woman who is his best friend, really close friend, or vice versa, that is the foundation for a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
There are other things to add in, but a guy who moves closer to a woman over time, but still is just friends, you're building something, you're building towards something, but you're not actually moving there.
And a lot of guys want their cake and to be able to eat it too. They want to remain super close with that girl and just be friends without having to commit to her. They want to leave the option open to meet a different woman that, because she's different, they don't have that history with her. We've talked about this on the show before. You know, there's kind of that window of time where you're statistically likely to be most attracted to her before, you know, the familiarity sets in. And so they're like, well, no, I don't want to change the dynamic of this super close friendship with this woman, but also I don't want to commit to her. And that is unloving. That is unkind. You might think that's you being a great friend to her, but at the end of the day, that actually is being a red flag in her life, because now some potential man who might be observing her and interested in her is seeing this super close friendship between her and another guy. And any healthy, honorable man is going to be at least somewhat questioning why that is, if not completely put off by that.
Well, and that's actually a great benchmark to use. If as a guy, you are communicating with a woman, if you were made aware of another guy communicating with her to the same level, intensity, frequency that you are, would that sit well with you? And that can be one way to gauge, am I in a healthy place here? Or if another guy was talking to her like I'm talking to her, that would actually bother me. That's probably means that, yeah, you're a red flag.
And I think a lot of people tend to get defensive about their relationships with the opposite sex because they want to be able to justify what is likely unhealthy behaviors and not have to confront that reality by either saying, okay, we're going to move towards a romantic relationship, or we're actually going to change the status quo of our friendship because this isn't healthy, this isn't sustainable. And I get it. For years of my life, the people I texted most often were women. The people who I would go, I'd go over to their houses and cook them dinner. We'd go out to coffee. We'd walk, the trails in the autumn. We'd sit on the park benches and talk late into the evening. All things that I was like, yeah, this is just a fun, friendly thing to do. In my mind, I'm not thinking this is a romantic gesture in any way, shape, or form. Now, it's very possible I did communicate that to them. Maybe they received it as being romantic. I don't know. But I can appreciate that when that's what you're used to, giving that up, changing that dynamic, changing that interaction is uncomfortable. Now, let's fast forward, I don't know, 15 years since, 10, 15 years since I've been doing that. And my life is very different. I don't really communicate with single women at all. If I'm going to get together with them, it's in a very public place. It's going to be over coffee, and it's for a very specific reason. We're having a meeting to discuss something. And as a guy, you've got to take ownership and responsibility of the friendships in your life and not just keep dragging out the status quo because it feels good, because you've got history together, because you can't imagine going through, life without her by your side as your best friend. And I'm like, well, you're going to need to, because guess what? Someday either you're going to get married or she's going to get married, and this can't continue to happen.
Yeah. Men need to remember breadth and depth. Guys, is a guy just talking to one or two or three women? Is all his attention just focused on a very small subset, or does he have a general comfortability of talking to anyone and everyone? It's important for guys to not just single out any one or two women. For example, a guy should be able to talk to all women. Yeah. But then again, to that end, guys can be sneaky, and we can say, and I've done this myself, I'm friends with with all all women, young women. I mean, doesn't really matter. But I was going further in friendship with multiple women, further than I should have, further than what was healthy.
Yep.
I'm talking about close things with her, and then at the same time or a week later, I'm talking about close things, personal things with her. I might be doing it with her. I mean, yeah, in a lot of ways, my college years were, there's a lot of stuff I do over. So a guy needs to be careful of, don't just single out a few women, and also in the spirit of talking to a lot of different women, don't go deep with them as well.
Yeah, because men might think, well, I'm not asking her to open up. I'm protecting her emotions. I'm not asking her to be vulnerable. But as the guy, if you are the one who's opening up, if you're the one who's being vulnerable, that's going to elicit inside of her a certain emotional response and reaction. And the very nature of, I mean, you can speak to this, I can't really, but like of marriage is the intimacy that binds you together is not just the sexual intimacy, which is very important, but it's also the emotional intimacy. There's something that happens in the relationship between a man and a woman in covenant and close intimacy of shared life that like you're emotionally like, braided together in a way that you're not supposed to be anywhere else.
And that is true. Emotions are, to be overly simplified, sex is much more bland without emotions. Just much less interesting. Now, if that's all you've experienced, it's going to be great. But when you experience intimacy, emotional and physical together, you can in those moments, this is what it was really meant to be. And I heard it said once that you shouldn't be physically transparent with somebody without the emotional transparency. So emotional intimacy, transparency, that actually precedes the physical intimacy with somebody. And by design, as you become emotionally close with somebody, the desire to be with them physically actually grows. So something to caution men with is as you grow emotionally close to a woman, it's very likely that your feelings for her, your desire to be with her physically is going to go through the roof.
Yep.
And even if it doesn't, it is very likely that her desire to be with you physically is going to increase.
So we've told men before that the best romantic relationships stem from friendship. So one of the tensions for men is they need to be able to have a friendship with a woman because you don't want to come out of the gate being like, hi, I'm Josh and I want to date you. Now, are there stories where that's happened? Yes.
Happens.
And those are the exceptions, not the rule.
Yep.
So the rule is get to know her, become friends with her, and then out of that, form a romantic relationship. So as the man, part of what you've got to navigate is how do I become friends with a woman without becoming that type of friend, over here, this category of like sharing all my life with her, opening up to her, being vulnerable to her. How do I progress in friendship in a healthy way so that from there, if there's going to be a romantic pursuit, I can do that. And if there's not, this is a sustainable, healthy relationship that we have.
So something that I have witnessed over the years is that the healthier that the guy is, the more quickly he can figure out, is this woman someone that I could spend the rest of my life with? And so the challenge for men is going to be, well, one, get to a healthy place.
Sure.
And that way, become a healthier guy overall, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and you'll be able to more quickly figure out, as your friendship grows with somebody, is this the type of person that I could end up pursuing toward marriage? Because there is that tension. Build a friendship, at least start something, and then you'll figure out, is this someone I want to marry? For most guys, it's not just, oh, she's hot, I can marry her. No, it's got to be more than that. And that's the balance. Start a friendship, and if you're a healthy guy, you'll be able to learn pretty quickly, is this the type of woman that I could spend my life with.
And if you don't want to marry her, it's not like you're writing her off and being like, well, I'm just going to ignore Sally Sue from here on out.
Exactly.
She's dead to me. That's part of your responsibility as a man, is to be able to continue to be a friend to her, be cordial, be kind, be loving, but don't be like, you don't have to be like personal with her. It's not about opening up your life to her. You don't need to go deep with her. It's not about spending a whole bunch of hours. Back in the day, I used to, follow all, the single girls in my life. I would follow all of them on social media, and I would text them fairly frequently and just send them random stuff here and there. Fast forward to today, I basically text no single women. And if I do, it's very like professional, like business oriented, like church related, work related, stuff like that, politically related. It's not really very personal anymore. And I've done that intentionally because, yes, I do want to guard myself, but I actually want to guard them. I don't want to put them in a place of expectation or of hope, or prevent possibly another man from pursuing them because of the awkward or dysfunctional relationship that I have with them by being too close with them.
And I like that you just mentioned that you, as a guy, just don't disregard a woman because you're no longer interested in her or decide you're not going to pursue her. The friendship really matters, and I mean on this level. Guys have this unique ability to frame for women, to help frame for them what healthy masculinity is. And if a woman experiences a guy treating her well who doesn't have feelings for her, that kind of sets the bar, meaning any guy in the future that is going to have feelings for her should at least meet that.
Yeah.
So if men categorically treat women with respect and dignity, that's kind of the baseline. If a guy can treat her well and doesn't even have feelings for her, how much more should a guy treat her well who actually wants to pursue her?
Yes, and because there's such few good examples of healthy biblical masculinity, when a man lives that out, it's not only a blessing to her and her community, but also to his community. Now, we're not saying that men and women can't be friends. In fact,
Right.
I think what we're recognizing is they actually can be friends. And how you define and describe friendship really does matter here. But I want to broaden the question to ask, should men and women be friends? Because I think it is possible for them to be friends. But just because it's possible doesn't mean that they should be friends.
Right. And that is so important for men to honestly and truthfully evaluate, because it's going to be different for every guy. It's going to be different for every friendship. And men need to be able to take an honest look at themselves and think, is this friendship at a healthy level? Am I giving her the healthy kind of attention? Is this appropriate? And yeah, there's no yes or no answer for each of those.
Sure.
It's really got to be evaluated in the moment. And as a guy, if some guy's not really sure, then that's like a perfect opportunity to bring in bring in some peers, bring in some other guys, bring in a mentor, bring in a pastor, be like, hey, this is what things look like. This is how much time I spend with her. This is how much we communicate. Is that healthy? Should I change anything? Are we good to go? And that's great input, because as guys, yeah, we've got blind spots. We're going to miss it. If you try to do it on your own, you're going to faceplant.
And men need to learn how to build healthy friendships, but in a way that is not going to cause trouble. Because in a post-Me Too world, in a 2025 world, for better or for worse, it is believe all women. And so let's pretend that a guy meets a new girl, at church, work, running club, the bar, or whatever. And he wants to build this friendship with her. He needs to do so in a way accounting for the type of time and culture that he lives in. Because he might think, man, we're just hanging out. We're just texting. I'm just sending XYZ to her. We're going out to a dinner. We're going out to the movies, going on a nice walk in the evening. And that might all be above board. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But she might at some point, for whatever reason, just not like it. And may come out and say that he made an unwanted pass at her. And in the court of public opinion, he will be viewed as the perpetrator, even if it's proven that he's innocent. It doesn't matter. And unfortunately, the time that we live in today, that has become more and more commonplace. Again, that doesn't mean that the vast majority of women are doing this. Absolutely not.
Right.
But at this point, there are actually hundreds of documented cases of this happening to men where then it was proven that they were completely innocent. And so as a guy, yes, you want to be able to build a friendship with her, but do so in a way that accounts for, man, I'm not putting myself in a position where she could accuse me of anything because I'm never sending anything remotely inappropriate. I'm not ever putting myself in a remotely compromising situation to give her any opportunity to claim otherwise.
And something we need to emphasize for guys is this idea of changing course. Just because a guy has interacted with a woman in a certain capacity, going to the movies, hanging out with friends, going on a trip somewhere, doesn't mean that necessarily establishes a new normal or this is how it's going to be going forward. A guy needs to have the emotional maturity to look at a situation and say, okay, just because we've done this in the past, it doesn't make it healthy going forward.
Because that will help save men from all kinds of potential problems. You know, when you're really close with a woman that you're not romantically pursuing, some of the potential issues you're going to face are things like situationships, you know, being friend zoned, unintentional drama, hurt, potentially falling into temptation or sin, a lot of miscommunication, misrepresented signals, jealousy, because I mean, there's a big one. We haven't really even talked about that. You know, she starts to date another guy and suddenly you're all up in arms and jealous about it. It's like, why are you jealous, bro? You're just friends, right? So there's a lot of different consequences that can result from a man and a woman being way too close friends without the purpose of a romantic relationship leading to covenant.
So men need to look at their social life, the attention that they are giving toward women, toward men, and if it's out of balance, if a guy is giving most of his attention toward women, I would say that's a problem.
100%.
Definitely if it's a select number of women. But men in general need to have regular, frequent interactions with other men. And so, yes, interact with women, also interact with men as much or more.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a baseline way that a guy can figure out, am I at a healthy place? I know there's a lot to evaluate, but a good starting point could be, am I talking to male peers as much as I am talking to female peers?
It's easy when you're in a new context or in a social group to gravitate towards women, right? Women oftentimes are more demonstrative. They're willing to talk more freely. They perhaps are willing to vocalize their interests and engage with you as a guy more readily than other men. But it's vitally important that men have other men speaking into their lives, challenging them. We did an episode, I think episode 37, All Men Need Brotherhood.
Yep.
Men have to prioritize relationships with other men. The vast majority of friendships that a man has should be other men. And the vast majority of time that he's spending with his collective group of friends should be mostly men. And men need to be opening up, processing, discussing, debating things in their life with other men. Doesn't mean that you can't invite female inputs. But as a single man, your goal should not be, let me go select a bunch of female input, and then I'll ask, the one guy in my life that I talk to ask him what I should do or what his thoughts are. You need to flip that entire scenario, and the vast majority of voices that you should be seeking out are other men. And then if you really want that female perspective, go to that one woman in your life and maybe ask her.
And the double win there is that not only are you better off as a guy for doing that, but men who spend regular time with other men actually become more interesting to the right kind of woman. So as a guy, you will become a healthier, more interesting guy that women are going to notice. Versus if you spend the majority of your attention interacting with women.
And women aren't looking for, just a 2.0 version of themselves. They're not looking for a guy who's all his interests and all his hobbies and all his discussion points and all his likes and dislikes are that of hers. That's kind of weird. That's what we'd classify as a beta male. She's looking for a man who is masculine, who is able to lean into the God-given traits that he has. And part of the way that a man learns to live out his masculinity is in brotherhood with other men, is seeing how other men are doing. And that's one of the big broken things in our culture is we actually don't have men living in community with other men. And we have such few good examples of healthy masculinity that even if they wanted to, they have no one to look to. And so what we want to see for men in our culture, for men who are listening, is for them to recognize, yeah, you should not be orienting your social situations around how can I become friends with women or how can I maintain all these friendships with women. Rather, you need to pivot and begin to say, all right, how do I maintain healthy friendships with women and prioritize close friendships with men?
Because all friendships are headed somewhere. Friendships are designed to grow. They're designed to deepen. That's just who we are as humans. That's how we were created. And so a guy needs to be able to look at a friendship and say, is this something that should grow deeper? Is this something that should grow closer? And if the answer is yes, that orients you toward possibly marriage. If not, that's that, that middle area of yes, be appropriate, be friends, but understand and deeply know what's too far.
Your goal as a man is not to just be close friends with every woman you meet. And I get it. Single men, you're in an environment where there are single women. The natural thought process for a lot of single guys is they're looking at these women and wondering, all right, like, should I go talk to her? I mean, she's kind of pretty, like maybe I could date her, right? We've explored these thoughts before on the podcast. And so what men can fall into is this habit of like, anytime they're in a new environment and there's new women is like, well, I just want to become friends with all of them because I don't know, maybe one of them I'll end up dating and marrying. That shouldn't be the goal of a guy, right? Men need to be cordial. They need to be kind. They need to be friendly. But the goal isn't, there's 10 women in my church that are single. I should become friends with all of them. That's not the goal. Maybe you end up becoming friends with one or two or three of them through ministry, through, common friend groups, whatever. But like, you're not going to church trying to become friends with every girl because that's A, unhealthy, B, unsustainable, and C, that's a weird, like people from the outside are going to be looking at you and be like, what are you doing? Are you trying to play the field here?
That's weird, bro.
Yeah, you like kind of being like the Christian womanizer, right? I'm going to be friends with all the girls in church. That's like, you shouldn't be friends with all the girls in the church. And it might seem like, well, then how am I ever going to meet somebody, right? If we've talked about men needing to build friendships to be able to pursue romantic relationships, some of our listeners could be listening today thinking, wow, you're just telling me I can't be friends with all women and therefore I won't ever be able to meet a woman to then therefore romantically pursue. And that's not what we're saying. We're saying that your goal isn't to become friends with all women, and the type of friend you become with them really matters. Don't be the, I'll call you every day, tell you everything about my life. Let's, live emotionally connected at the hip type friends. Be the kind, respectful, present, but not personal and deep kind of friend. And then from there, you'll know, like you talked about, whether this is someone who you want to romantically pursue or not. And if you don't, guess what? You're in a really healthy place just to leave it at that.
And going back to that video we watched in the beginning, that is representative of men and women, generally speaking. The safe assumption for guys is going to be, assume that's me.
Yep.
And for women, I would say, assume that's you as well. So guys, really pay attention to the women who you're friends with, the level of friendship, and the level of appropriateness.
We've seen this in Hollywood hundreds of times in movies and TV shows. I think one of the best examples, though, is The Office. The relationship between Jim and Pam. America's sweethearts, right?
Yep.
And what we see throughout, the early seasons is just a friendship that's really close. They have their own inside jokes. They have their own conversations, off to the side. They do their own things. And it's, we watch this and we're cheering for them to be in a relationship. We're like, this is so
Exactly.
great. And when it doesn't end up in a relationship, Jim does shoot his shot, but when it doesn't end up in a relationship, it has to change. And so Jim actually ends up moving away. And that's the reality of every male-female friendship that gets really close like that. It is headed towards a decision point because there will come a moment, I don't care what you think about your friendship with a woman, there will come a moment of tension where you either have to resolve it by moving into a romantic relationship or by changing dramatically the status quo of that relationship.
And healthy men lean into those situations. They purpose to navigate them well. Might not be perfect, might not be the most timely, but the goal is for men to do something. Be aware, know where you're headed, know when it's time to take action, and the important thing is to actually take action.
Yes, so gentlemen, can men and women be friends? Sure, but the better question is it wise? Because healthy friendships aren't static. They are moving somewhere. The kind of friendship where you text her every day, share your highs and lows, and depend on each other emotionally, that is unhealthy and will very likely end in someone getting hurt. And listen, we're not saying avoid women or never talk to them. Obviously, we built an entire set and are doing a podcast to equip you to be able to communicate with women and connect with them. But what we are saying is be wise, be clear, be intentional. You can be present without being personal, kind without being close. And the truth is, most of us don't need more female friends. We need more brothers, men who push us, challenge us, and call us higher. So 3 things we want you to do this week. Number 1, look at your female friendships. If you're texting any of them daily, confiding emotionally, or feeling possessive of them, it's not friendship anymore, gentlemen. Number 2, pull back where there's no future. If you're not interested in romantically pursuing her, do something about it because remaining friends cannot be the status quo. And finally, number 3, build brotherhood. Don't let your deepest friendships be with women. Go deep with godly men who will sharpen you, challenge you, and hold you accountable. You were made to lead with clarity, live with integrity, and pursue with purpose. If you can't do that in your friendships with women, you'll never be able to do it in your romantic pursuit of a woman. As always, we love having you here on the Art and Pursuit podcast, and we look forward to having you here next time.